Oh 07 Star Citizens, we are in the middle of Invictus now, which means we've gotten to see all of these awesome military ships be put on display for us to rent and give them a go. But it's been getting me thinking about where there are kind of holes in the military fleet of the UEE. I mean, the most popular topic of conversation in Star Citizen is, what's the game going to be like in the future? Well, why don't we continue that topic, that very, very overused topic, and talk about a couple of ships that I think would really benefit Star Citizen. Now, unfortunately, even though I do have some absolutely fantastic opinions, I can't just walk into CIG and ask them to make a vehicle for me. So let me know what you think about these ships in the comments below, as well as letting me know what ships you want to see in Star Citizen. Let's start with the main thing that I've been thinking about recently, which is to do with the brand new released Mariah Fury, and how awesome it is. It really is really fun jumping in that snubcraft with a couple of friends, deploying and doing some bounties. But it really has shown that there is a hole in the fleet that isn't really covered by any ship concept or released. And that's a carrier. This is a type of ship we've been talking about for years and years, and yet the only sort of vessel that's even really close to it is the Bengal, and that's not a ship that we can own. There are ships like the Liberator, the Carrack, the 890J, that can all kind of do it a little bit, but none of them are dedicated combat carriers. For 100 years now, the aircraft carrier has been an absolute staple in naval operations, working as sort of this mobile base of operations for a small fleet. Even in sci-fi franchises for the last 50 years, aircraft carriers or ship carriers have been a really important part of their combat. In a game that I think gives a lot of inspiration to some of the mechanics and ships in Star Citizen, EVE Online, the carrier and the drone carrier are really, really important parts of combat and allow for a very unique gameplay style. And in a game like Star Citizen, which with such complex and detailed ways of playing the game, it would be a really, really unique way of getting friends together to defeat some large fleet. With repairing, refueling, rearming, all sort of making their way into the verse, I think it'd be really interesting to have a large ship that maybe had 6 to 8 positions for these snubcraft, perhaps parasitic, similar to how we've got with the Constellation, and would be a great alternative to something like the Hammerhead or the Retaliator or even the Redeemer, as kind of like a gunship. They would serve a similar purpose, but in a different way. You know, the Hammerhead, it's all about being able to fight these light fighters, but you have to be within close range with that Hammerhead. Well, if we had a carrier with a bunch of smaller fighters on them, it'd feel kind of similar. It's just you have a little bit more maneuverability. I think that'd be a really interesting way to play the game. Multi-crew gameplay really is the most exciting thing for me in Star Citizen. It's the thing that keeps me coming back into the game every day. We had a chance these last couple of days to take a bunch of these Mariah Furies, chuck them in an 890J, a Carrack, or even a Starfarer, and just experience what it was like to deploy the fleet. And we didn't really need that many people to do it. We had, 5 or 6 people, which, that's a large group for the most part, but we were able to have this unique experience. If we were only able to have that on a larger and more detailed ship designed for it, I think that'd be a really interesting ship. In terms of manufacturer, I think it's Anvil's time to shine in this regard. Maybe they have some sort of deal with Kruger or Mirai in order to get these snubcrafts, similar to how RSI do with the Constellation. The only thing gameplay-wise that I think is kind of a hindrance to this entire idea is that at the moment, if you are either parasitic ship or you are snubcrafting and you leave your parent vessel, you won't be traveling at the same speed as that ship was, even if you're in 0G, which can cause a lot of issues. It can cause collisions, it can cause desync. So I feel like there needs to be something in place to be able to say, hey, this Carrack is traveling 300 meters a second. When you leave the ship, you are also traveling 300 meters a second. There needs to be something like that. But I don't know how reasonable that's going to be with the way that CIG want to make the game. So if they can come up with anything to make this work, I'll be happy. I think it'll be really cool. Next up, we have a thing that I just really kind of want to know how CIG would develop, which is an alien mining vessel. Since the introduction of the GATAC, I've really had a hankering to know hey, how do aliens do their industrial ships? You know, we get to see Argo, Misk, RSI, we get to see how they implement their cargo, how they implement their refining, their mining. We don't really get to see anything of that sort from aliens other than the Raylan and the Merchantman. So I'd really love to see how a Jean, Banu, even Vanduul mining ship actually looked, and how we, as humans in the game, would actually operate them. There's a lot of things that we've already seen that could sort of be implemented here. For example, we could see some really cool thrusters like we see with the Cartual, possibly allowing us with much better maneuverability when we're going around planet looking for rocks. We could see some unique cargo pods, kind of like how we see on the Raylan, that maybe give us some bonuses to holding certain materials, or maybe they allow for a longer Quantanium timer. There's even the possibility of the lasers themselves that are attached to the alien vessels actually having like a self-refining bonus or something. Like imagine you were mining some Quantanium rock and then 50% of that rock just immediately refined. You lost the rest of it, but you then didn't have to deal with the refining. There would be a very interesting cost balance there that I think would be very cool. Just a very large area to explore. The only thing I'm not sure of about this vessel is if I would like to see it more like a Prospector, a Mole, an Orion, or the new large size ship that we're going to be getting from RSI. I mean, ideally, we would get a mining vessel for all of those different sizes, and that really is my hope for one day. But I'd like to see right now probably just a competitor to the Prospector, even if it was an alien ship that had a single size 2 mining laser with maybe diminished cargo capacity and something interesting about it, whether that's blast shields to prevent from damage when you break rocks, or some sort of mineral filtering or something like that. I don't know what it would be, but I think it'd be really cool. As well as anytime CIG release anything alien related, I'm really curious how they explore that space, because you really can go completely all out. You don't have to really follow anything. Lastly, we're going to explore something that I think CIG have attempted quite a few times, but I've never really felt like they've done right, which is the missile boat. This type of ship really is more about a fun factor than anything else, especially as missiles can be very hit or miss depending on which patch we're talking about. But I absolutely love missile gameplay. I love having to make sure that I'm a certain distance away, locking on my missiles and just going for it. Right now, we do have a couple of ships that I would basically consider missile boats, but I don't think we've gotten quite there yet. Namely, we've got the Fury MX, the brand new Fury MX. We've got the Freelancer Miss, and of course, we have the alien Talon Shrike. However, I would like to see them take this and go even harder. If we had a heavy fighter similar to the Vanguard Harbinger that replaced all of its front points with just more missiles, I think that's kind of what I'm after here. I want to have a range of missiles from size 1s all the way up to size 5s, and that's it. I don't want any other offensive capabilities. I want to be forced to choose which sizes I'm using against which types of enemies. And if someone gets too close to me, I want to be punished for that. I want to have the ability to have this harder punch with my missiles while having this massive downside of being too close to the enemies. This is once again something that I've personally gotten a lot of inspiration from EVE Online. I love how the Caldari Navy work in that game, where they are mostly missile focused. And you have all of these different, torpedo boats, missile boats, where they're designed to stay just out of range of the enemies while launching volleys of missiles. What this results in is a high amount of damage, but massive downside. It's kind of like a glass cannon, but it's more about distance than it is about raw health. It would also allow for some really interesting multi-crew gameplay by having maybe 2 light fighters with you in this missile boat in case anyone does get too close. You can start launching those volleys, and the gladiuses or arrows that you have with you could start clearing up the rest. So those are 3 ships that I would love to see in Star Citizen that we haven't really had before, or at the very least with the missile boat, I don't feel like has been done very well yet. What do you think? Do you think you would like to see these vehicles? Do we not bother and we just finish with the backlog? What do you think we should do? Let me know in the comments below. I know that the community tends to have a lot of really good ideas at least fun ideas when it comes to ships. So I'll be interested to hear all your thoughts. If you liked the video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe, and make sure to hit the notification bell to be notified every single time I post a video. I've been posting a lot of stuff on YouTube recently. I hope you've been enjoying it because I've been loving making it, as well as seeing a ton of new community members pop into stream and Discord. It's been awesome seeing everyone. Also, keep in mind that I am usually open crew every single time I play on Twitch. So if you do want to join us, like we've been messing around with the Fury for the last couple of nights, then feel free to join. It's a good time and you'll meet some good friends. That's it from me, guys. Have a good one. See you in the verse.